Welcome, everybody. I'm Ed Arnold, Vice President of Products here at Leverage Point. This is another half-hour webinar in our monthly series of thought leadership in the areas of pricing, sales, and marketing. Leverage Point provides a software solution for value-based pricing. You can find out more about us by visiting our website, leveragepoint.com. That's where you'll find the recording for this and all our previous webinars, plus other resources. I'm here today with Jay Manson, our Vice President of Sales, who will introduce this month's speaker and topic. Jay?
Hi, thanks, Ed. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. As Ed said, my name is Jay Manson. I'm the Vice President of Sales here at Leverage Point. We are very fortunate today to have Dick Braun with us to present. As most of you know, Dick runs strategic pricing at Parker Hannifin. And Parker Hannifin is a $12 billion global complex manufacturing company. So it's a major global role that he runs. And what's unique about Dick's background is he brings not just a deep understanding of pricing theory, but he's actually experienced the implementation of that theory to drive Parker's truly remarkable profitability. Today, Dick will be presenting how Parker is using a richer understanding of value to improve the new product, introduction, and pricing process. During the presentation, as questions come up, please feel free to type them in. We're going to leave about 10 minutes at the end of the presentation for Dick to answer any of your questions. So without further ado, Dick, thank you so much for joining us. We're all very interested to hear what you have to say.
Thank you, Jay. If you could just forward that introduction to my wife, that would be a great thing for you to do for me. Thank you very much to Leverage Point for asking me to do this. Obviously, those folks that know me know I'm pretty passionate about pricing management in the B2B world and in the industrial world. I personally think it's the biggest blind spot in business, and it's something that I'm pretty passionate about, that we can do a whole lot of good for our companies executing pricing a lot better, and it's really, I think, the final frontier. So I'm thrilled to be able to talk to an interested audience about some of the general concepts we're employing at Parker and where we're trying to go next. Again, a little bit about Parker Hannifin then. $12 billion in sales. Our fiscal year 11 closed at the end of June. We're on a half-year off calendar. We're what we call a high-mix, low-volume company, just to give you some reference points. So we sell over 800,000 products a year. About half of those products ship to one customer and one customer only. So about half of what we do is custom. We do have over almost 500,000 customers in about 1,100 markets, 132 separate product divisions, and we ship in about 46 different countries around the world, which includes all the different currencies and all the things that goes with that. About 10 years ago, and it is just about the 10-year anniversary of our company's Win strategy, our CEO, Don Wasilewicz, rolled out a new strategy to take Parker from a mid-tier performance industrial company to our goal of a top-tier performance industrial company. And the thing that was more unique than anything else on Don's Win strategy was the inclusion of strategic pricing as a corporate initiative. To some extent, 10 years ago, it was a realization that our pricing practices around the company were anything but world-class. It was not a topic that was really even consciously thought about at Parker Hannifin 10 years ago. So our CEO decided this is something that we need to work at very, very hard and get better at. And this is an issue at Parker. We are far, far, far from perfect in pricing at Parker Hannifin. Many, many things we need to work on, but it's something we take extremely seriously from the CEO on down, something we talk about regularly, both from a results standpoint and a strategy standpoint of what it is we're trying to do with pricing at Parker Hannifin. And I'm a really fortunate person in that strategic pricing at Parker ranks up in the company with our lean initiatives and our strategic procurement initiatives, along with our product development initiatives in terms of how our CEO wants to drive the company. So I am kind of the world's luckiest pricing guy to that extent. Like a lot of companies, it's important to understand what big value streams we have. And we have three really big, large pricing value streams at Parker Hannifin. One's list prices. So we have catalogs like a lot of companies that we sell through distribution. And we have around 5 million list prices around the world. And that's if you add up all the products that have list prices and all the countries that they're sold in, it really might be more than 5 million, but it's hard for me to get an exact count. But that generates for us around $5 billion in sales. And we have internal processes that drive strategic direction of what our pricing practices should be, country by country, product line by product line, for our list prices in Parker Hannifin. The other big value stream, and I would imagine most folks on the call have something similar to this, is we quote new business every day. So we do around 500,000 new quotations every year at Parker Hannifin, anywhere from $5.5 to $6 billion worth of business that we're pursuing to try to win, to try to fill our pipelines for the subsequent years. Our win rate drives us to about $2 billion in new sales. So that's the new business that we get every year. Our third value stream, which is also very, very big, takes a lot of work, is the renewal of all those new quotations. So a lot of that business stays in our portfolio. We certainly hope it stays in our portfolio, and we have a renewal process with all of our big OEMs. So they're always, you know, like many people on this call, I'm sure, always asking for price downs. They always want their productivity, and they want all those things that they want. And, of course, we want to maintain the business, but we also want to get the value out of that for our shareholders that we deserve. So these are the three main value streams at Parker Hannifin that we're managing in the pricing program. It's important to note, and I'll talk about it later, that within that new quotation value stream, there are instances where the product that we're quoting is new to the world or new to industry. It's the first time we're going after that piece of business, a piece of new technology. And that's where we're hoping over time to more fully utilize value pricing and new products so that we can set that first price right as we're going after new business. So at Parker, we're a very, very data-oriented company. Every division around the world, every sales company, every operating division has a pricing team improvement board, and they're all the same. We're a very heavy metrics-oriented company, and we're really focused on understanding what's happening to our prices. So we know by market where we're up or down. We know by product where we're up or down. We know by customer where we're up or down. So we basically are able to do a price, cost, volume, mix waterfall on our markets, on our products, on our divisions, and on our countries. We know how often we quote, we know how effective we quote, and we know whether we win or lose. So at the end of the day, one of the elements of a pricing program is the ability to just understand operationally where you are in pricing. And that's a key element of any company's, at least in industrial companies, pricing program, is to be able to deliver to your leaders what the pricing program is doing, what's happening in the world today in terms of prices. So that's something we focus on a lot. Building on top of that, then, we have utilized the same types of lean concepts that we have in the factory. And I know a lot of folks on the call probably have lean initiatives or Lean Six Sigma initiatives. And we find that pricing and lean go hand in hand. At the end of the day, the value streams that I described earlier are factories. We have a list price factory, we have a quotation factory, and we have a contract renewal factory. And we do the same things we do on the factory floors. We do value stream maps, we find waste, we find areas of inefficiency, we find areas of ineffectiveness, and we work real hard to improve those. What that leaves you with at the end of your lean Kaizen is what we call a pricing cell. And it's not jail for pricing people, although some of my pricing people might think that. It is where prices happen. So we are a cellular manufacturing company, so we use the term pricing cell to mimic what we do on the manufacturing floor. But at the end of the day, this is where prices happen at Parker. Prices are assembled, they're designed, they're engineered. The primary job of the pricing cell, the pricing manager of a division, is to understand what the market level price is for particular products. So I ask them to answer the following question: for this product in this market, where do we normally win business? So that's their primary job. They're quoting their list pricing. On top of that, again, they're doing contract renewals, they're doing lists, and they create what you would call a pricing guideline, which is the pricing strategy that we have for that product in that marketplace. So every division in Parker Hannifin, we've created a pricing cell. On top of that, then you have to start layering in some pricing science. So many of you know, if you know me, I'm a big believer in pricing science. I'm a big believer in spending a lot of time analyzing the transactional data that you have to score the business that you have. So we spend a lot of time segmenting our customers, segmenting our products, segmenting our transactions. At the end of the day, what you're looking for is a reasonable grouping of those three things, so you can measure more effectively what types of price points and margin rates and discount strategies you should be employing in each of those segments. So at the end of the day, I'm a very big believer in utilizing a rigorous analytical statistical approach to your transactional data to take the magic out of pricing, or at least make people think you've taken the magic out of pricing, so that you can drive a scientific approach as to what your pricing strategy should be. On top of that, then, what you get is a deal management platform. So we are installing globally a global quotation platform, and you can see there at Zilliant, they are the vendors that we chose. There are other vendors out there. I've been a long-time partner with Zilliant. I'm real happy with them. But at the end of the day, what you get there is deal profitability analysis. So you know up front every deal that's going through your pricing cell, how you're doing on that. But just as important, you score the deals. So in order to be able to say this is the deal I want, the first thing you have to be able to say is, how is this deal versus what I would consider a normal deal for that product in that market for that type of transaction? And then, of course, on top of that, you have a rules-based processing routine. So if it's below a certain margin, or below the deal envelope, or above $1 million, or whatever the exception routines you want to put in place, a good deal management package provides a foundation for you to stop pricing leakage at the quotation. So Parker is installing that globally. Finally, once you win all those deals, that $2 billion, you've got to renew it. So you rescore your business on the contract renewal date to find out if there's anything that you want to do differently. Of course, your OEMs always want price downs, but it's really interesting to me how, we quote, and then after a year comes down, maybe we quoted $1 million and we shipped $10,000, and that might change our pricing strategy. So we have a process we call PFEC, Plan for Every Customer. I will tell you that we call it PFEC because our lean process is PFEP, Plan for Every Part. So it rings real true to the company that we want to have a rigorous process of planning for our OEMs on the price side, just like we have on the factory side in terms of PFEP. So what's missing? So at Parker Hannifin now, we've got, like many, many companies, and probably many people on this call, have a pipeline of new products that are going to be launched. And we call our pipeline Winnovation. Yes, it's named after the Win strategy, Winnovation, Innovation. But like a lot of companies, we have a stage gate approach to roll out new products. And we estimate that we get about 2.5% of our sales every year from these new products. So if you think about it, that's 2.5% of our sales that wouldn't be a natural fit for a good deal management package because it's a new product. We don't have the reference points in our transactional history that may drive a great pricing decision. So 2.5% year one, 5% year two, 7.5% year three, 10% year four. So the last frontier for us at Parker Hannifin is understanding this what seemingly small piece of business that grows into a big piece of business, and make sure the launch pricing that we put on our products is reflective of the value that we're creating on our products. When we say Winnovation at Parker, our intention is to have products that are new to industry and new to the world. So the assumption is, and the drive inside of Parker Hannifin, is to create a significant amount of incremental value for our customers, through the application of Parker engineers. So this is the stuff that's new, it's different, and it's not just a typical pump or a motor or a cylinder or another type of product that we may roll out. So inside our Winnovation cycle, we have stages, like many, many companies have stages. The early stages, we're really just identifying what the value proposition is. Mid stages, you're really trying to quantify. At the end of it, ultimately what you're starting was creating a value proposition. At the beginning for us, we're really just identifying what we call value drivers. Okay, this is why would the customer buy it? It lasts longer, it tastes great, it's less spilling. The planes crash less frequently. Those types of things. Uses less electricity. I am being facetious. Hopefully, people understand that on a webinar. As you move through the stage gates, you start to quantify in real analytical terms, real numeric terms, as to what those value drivers turn into from the customer's perspective against the next best alternative. Ultimately, the last stage gates, it's important for you to be evaluating different pricing strategies aligned with different marketing strategies to make sure that what you're giving to the marketplace makes sense from both a marketing and pricing strategy, and of course for your shareholders and your customers. That help, Jay? Okay, so I'll go to the value proposition calculator page again then. So initially at Parker Hannifin, it was really just a forced march through a structured Excel spreadsheet where we drive product by product, product launch by product launch, the creation of a value calculator from the customer's perspective against the next best alternative, so that we can understand what the maximum value would be from the customer's perspective, and then what our pricing strategy would be based on that. Ultimately, where we're moving to at Parker is creation of these value driver libraries. And now you're just looking at some leverage point, leverage point screens. And for us, because our value drivers are relatively repetitive, even though we may have 100 of them, we hit many of them frequently. We save customers energy, we save them fuel, we save them air, we save them natural gas, we save them electricity. Our products will last longer, so they have to buy less. Our products will assemble more effectively than what we're replacing. So there are some value drivers at Parker that we're frequently in touch with, and so creating a value driver library is a good way for us to not have to reinvent it every time we come up with a new product, but also even start thinking about, as you're developing a pricing strategy for new products, is there a value driver that I missed, so that we have a little checklist. The next step, of course, is to create your value model from a customer's perspective. And as you all probably know, it starts with the next best alternative, which on this screen is the little blue box, and you create a total economic value, which is the orange box, which is the maximum amount a customer would pay. And the green box is, of course, the great things that we feel at Parker that our product does for our customers versus the competition. So this is the beginning of our pricing strategy. It's also the beginning of our selling strategy. So the pricing strategy and the selling strategy must be congruent in this instance. So this is something that we would build for every one of our products going through that innovation cycle, and that would create the beginnings of our price. What we have found, and I know we talked on the article for this call about what we call triangulation. And what we're finding as we roll out these products is typically we're selling first against what I would call a null scenario. We'll be talking to a customer about why they need to buy a new energy efficient garbage truck, as an example. And they have a typical normal garbage truck today, and we have a Parker garbage truck that saves them 47% fuel as they run through their community. So we're very often selling against this null scenario where you have a really massive amount of total economic value, and you're really compelling a customer or building a business case from the customer to go from current state to a new state. At the end of the day, though, as much as I would love to say that in the case of the garbage truck that we are the only energy efficient garbage truck in the world, we have competitors as well. So, you know, Eaton has an energy efficient garbage truck, Bosch Rexroth has an energy efficient garbage truck, Volvo has an energy efficient garbage truck, and Parker has an energy efficient garbage truck. So once you move that customer away from the null scenario, you're still selling against a separate next best alternative, which are our competitors' solutions to that problem. So there are instances, and I love it when there are instances where we have the only potential solution for our customers in the world. But let's face it, there are also instances where we may have the best one out there, we may have one that's similar out there, and we have to be cognizant in our pricing strategy of what the true nature of the competitive landscape is as we're rolling out new products, and not be naive about the incremental value we're creating for our customers. So we spend a lot of time pre-launch trying to understand not just a next best alternative for the customer, but the range of next best alternatives to make sure that our pricing strategy, our marketing strategy, and our product placement strategy makes sense for our customers and for Parker Hannifin. Oops, excuse me. So common mistakes that some people make is not understanding the value that you're creating. So it's really common for customers to roll out a product and really not get serious about quantifying the value of that. It's also a mistake to see it from our vantage point. We have found as we've gone through these value calculators that it's not infrequent at all that what we think is a big customer value, customers don't value, and then we learn what they do value is something that we were discounting, that we didn't think is very important. So it's really vital that we take a look at these products from an external perspective, and then, of course, it's important that we price it in. You know, the most common pricing strategy of the marketing organization or the sales organization and even the technology organization when you have a new product is to price it like the old product. Give away literally 100% of the value, but you do get an order. That's the theory of the case if you're not careful. And it's obviously vital for our shareholders and even for the marketplace that we don't give it all away. The other thing that I think has happened is down at the bottom of the page is over these stage gates, the product changes. We want to make sure our pricing strategy stays up to date with our product strategy. So you might start with a particular pump or motor that looks like it's going to cost around $100 and sell for $200. 2 years later, after you've been listening to all the customer demands, you've got a motor that costs $200, and the customer might think you're still going to sell it for $200, and your pricing strategy has not creeped along with your cost strategy or your product strategy. So you need to make sure those stay congruent. And there's very frequently a disconnect between marketing and pricing strategies, where marketing often wants to have a penetration strategy. They want to sell a lot of them because that's how they're measured. So regardless of what the product and the markets really say we should be doing, they want to have a pricing strategy which is penetration. And it's very important, I think, to evaluate different pricing and marketing strategies to make sure that you're aligned. There's a lot of products that we launch that should not be mass penetration products. They should be priced and marketed at customers that understand the value, receive maybe even a greater incremental portion of value than the typical customer, so that's where you launch it and that's where you price it. So that's a very, very common mistake. So in recap, you have to understand all the next best alternative choices, what they are and how they perform against us. You have to understand what drives the finance for our customers or a market segment. We have to document them, quantify them, understand how we create total customer value, and then through an iterative process to determine the Parker price that creates value for the customer but still value for our shareholders. So that, in summary, that was my mega speech on that. Hopefully I provided some help to some of you and maybe an insight or two. I'm ready for any questions if there are any.
Dick, thank you so much. That was great. I've been furiously taking down notes as you spoke. So this is it was enlightening for me. And I've heard the dry run before, so I was taking more notes.
It's amazing how different it was from the dry one, wasn't it?
So we do have some questions.
Okay.
And maybe, Aaron, do you want to, I'm sorry, Ed, do you want to read off some of those?
Yeah, the first one is, are copies of this presentation going to be distributed to attendees? Answer to that is yes. We'll be happy to send you a copy. And also, we're going to have a recording of this webinar on our resources page with all the other webinars, so you'll be able to have this content. All right, let's see. Next one. How do you build confidence in pricing with your commercial people? Any specific tools and techniques besides case studies?
Well, yeah, communication is actually the most important thing. So if you're talking about just quoting, you've got to have a pricing cell that is in touch with the commercial team and understands the feedback and is willing to receive the feedback from the commercial team. And I would say it's the same thing when you're launching new products. I would never say that every price that we've ever picked to launch a new product was perfect. So you've got to be ready to receive feedback from customers and from the sales guys as to what's working and not working. And that builds credibility over time. I think the biggest thing you have to do with a commercial team as a pricing guy is make sure they understand that you're as passionate about winning business as they are. And, you know, that goes a long way, and you're always willing to learn and listen.
Okay, here's another one. Since many of your products are sold to one customer, how do you quantify the value on a sample of one?
Well, you know, if you're talking about I'll answer that question two ways. If you're talking about quotes, you obviously want to segment that product through the most similar products that you can, right? So, you know, it's still, at the end of the day, I want similar pumps. It's not identical. So there is a normalization process in your quotation, in your deal management package that kind of logically groups products and customers together. And if you're doing a new product for a customer, then at least you only have to interview one customer to understand their value. So you've really focused on why you're developing that product for that customer and what the value drivers are and how you're either saving your customer money or allow them to ship a better product to their customers and charge for it. Hopefully that was responsive. But the long and short of that is not everything has to be identical to be useful information.
So a related question is, after you come up with the differentiated value of your products, how do you decide on how much you can discount off of that value?
Well, I would do that on a one-off basis. So, I mean, it really depends. I mean, that answer is probably conditional as to what type of pricing methods and routines you have in place. So most of the stuff that we at Parker roll out, we would be thinking in terms of a net price too, and then if it's going to translate into a list price, we would discount it up or undiscount it up per our normal discounting strategy. So that is something for some companies that'd be worth thinking on, particularly if you've got a product that you're going to have broad applicability. It's going to be in your catalog. It's going to sit next to other products that are in your catalog. So you should think about where that product fits in terms of its value on a normally discounted basis and possibly on a quoted basis. So you might have in your business let's say an everyday discount strategy into your distributors, and then you might have a quotation strategy, and you really should do that triangulation on a one-off basis before you list it.
Okay. More questions are coming in, Dick.
That's a good question.
More minutes?
I have a few. I've got to flight in a little bit, but I have a few.
Well, let me ask one more here. It says, any challenges with adoption with the sales force that need to be addressed through change management?
Yeah, I would say it really depends on where your sales force is today. So the answer is yes. So of course, if the sales guy is one problem, the sales guys are selling into purchasing, they're going to hit a brick wall, and they're going to tell you your value calculator sucks, but it's really not the calculator that sucks, it's who they're talking to. So that's one big issue, particularly as it relates to rolling out new innovative products, that purchasing is probably the last place you want to be selling into. That's a big thing, and certainly there's change management in that too. At Parker, we are spending a lot of energy on the value selling side, concurrent with our energy on the value pricing side. So yeah, there is change management there, and it's not an instantaneous, here's a 2-page presentation, give it to your customer, you're going to get 1 million orders. So there is more to it than that.
Okay. Well, I think that that wraps up our time. And again,
I can do a couple more if there are any.
Well,
I don't want to cut you off. Okay, good.
Okay, there is. And this probably reflects the times of today, but the question is, any recommendation on how to deal with big volume buyers that keep asking for price discounts every year?
There's an old saying that dogs don't beg part-time. You know, if your dog begs for food, he's going to beg for food at every meal until he learns that he doesn't get food. So you've got to be real judicious about always saying when to say yes and when to say no to customers. It is absolutely our customers' jobs to be asking for concessions from us. And, of course, the real story is you've got to be creating incremental value for your customers every year so that they have risk in changing you out. So the start of the equation really isn't at the pricing start. It's at the product start, the service start, and the relationship start, where you've got to build all the reasons why a customer's not going to want to leave you. And pricing's job is to assess that relative strength or weakness. And if there's 16 guys that can ship a product on time like we can, with the same performance and the same quality, then that's what we're up against, and our pricing strategy has to reflect that. So there's no super answer to that outside of the more value you create, the less likely you are to have those conversations. But I won't sugarcoat it. I don't live in a non-price down world either. We ship to the biggest OEMs in the world, like people on this call, and I've got my share of price downs right now that are running through my operations, and I've got my share of negotiations that are going on right now. And that is a real world, and I can assure you there's no magic wand. There's no cure for gravity. And that's why, to me, why we have to work so hard at pricing, because you've got to be able to compensate to some extent with all those pressures. We're not universal in our value creation. There are some instances where we are average, and that's a tough commercial situation. And we've got to still fight to make the margin we can for Parker Hannifin.
Okay. All right, Dick, I know you have a flight to catch, so I'd like to thank you again for your presence today.
You're welcome. My pleasure, and I really wish everyone on the call the best of luck.
Okay. Thanks, Dick. And for our audience here, for anyone who's going to be in Las Vegas next week at the Professional Pricing Society, you'll be able to see Dick Braun in person, live, doing one of the keynote addresses. We'll be there as well. So please stop by if any of this is of interest to you. And if you want more information directly from us, please visit our website at leveragepoint.com or contact Jay Manson. His contact information is here on the slide. So with that wraps up this month's webinar, and we'll be posting an announcement for the next webinar in the next week or so, as well as the recording for this. Thank you, everyone.